think you said earlier that you had never seen President Biden conduct himself the way he did during the debate prior to that. Is that accurate?
Yes, I think that what I said was that as far as I can remember, I hadn't seen that like 10 to 15 minute stretch at the beginning, had not actually seen that replicated.
George Clooney, in a 2024 op-ed, wrote that when he had seen the president about 3 weeks before, he, quote, he was the same man we all witnessed at the debate. So it sounds like Mr. Clooney had seen President Biden act similarly, but you never did?
I can't judge what George Clooney saw. I can only say what I saw.
Were you at that fundraiser where?
No, I was not there.
At the fundraiser with Mr. Clooney?
No, I was not at the Clooney fundraiser.
So do you think President Biden's age had anything to do with his bad night at the debate?
You know, I'm not sure what caused his bad night at the debate. I believe that, you know, he was ill, he had a bad cold, he'd gotten progressively worse in the course of the week, and then he went on that stage not feeling well, and, you know, he had a bad night, but I honestly cannot tell you why.
I think you've said that that the dial groups didn't react strongly to President Biden's debate performance. Do you not think that the American people were more, I can start again. Do you think that the American people were more concerned about President Biden's age after the debate?
No, I think coming out of the debate, you know, in a debate that, at least in our dial groups, neither candidate did particularly well. The, you know, the attention, and certainly the press attention in the political world, focused very much on the president's performance and his weak performance, and that, you know, and that we saw over the days coming out of it, as I remember, you know, that we started to see a little deterioration, although the bottom did not drop out.
I mentioned it earlier, but this was a CBS and YouGov survey conducted after the debate that found that 72% of voters do not believe Biden has the mental or cognitive health to serve as president, as well as nearly half of his own party. That's up 7 points from the beginning of June. Were you not hearing that sort of information at this time?
You're asking whether she was aware of that poll at this time?
Were you aware of that poll at the time?
No, as I remember, to the best of my recollection, we were seeing so many polls. I'm sure I probably did see that poll, but all of the polls, you know, the public polling in particular, was pretty negative at that point.
I guess I'll be more specific. The poll, and again, not to have this age versus the things that come with age argument, but I think it's important. The poll is not about his age specifically. It's about his mental or cognitive health to serve as president. So at least according to that poll, a significant majority of the American people were concerned that President Biden did not have the mental or cognitive health to serve as president. So during that time, did you know that the American people were concerned that President Biden did not have the mental or cognitive health to serve?
No, as I recall, the polling, you know, the polling across the board was pretty negative when it came to this. It's one of the reasons why, you know, we adopted a strategy to try to get the president out there as much as possible coming out of that. And of course, we had a NATO summit coming up, which kind of was poor timing, but nothing we can do about NATO. So, you know, we knew that people needed to see him and hear him even more coming out of that debate.
I'm not sure if that answered my question. Were you aware that the American people had concerns about President Biden's mental or cognitive health around the debate?
And I think I answered that by saying that we were aware what the polling said, absolutely. And that's why we adopted a strategy to make sure they could hear more from Joe Biden, see more from Joe Biden, that we were gonna do more interviews, that he was going to be out there as much as we could get him out there.
And was President Biden aware of these concerns?
I can't say specifically that he saw any individual poll you may ask me about, but certainly his senior advisors talked to him about what the political situation was coming out of the debate. He also got a lot of information from other people as well.
Did you think there was a difference between how the voters viewed the debate and how the political elite class viewed the debate?
I thought that, as I remember, I thought that the political elite class, was, kind of overreacting in terms of the rush to say that you had to replace someone who had won the nomination with millions of votes, who'd been chosen by voters, who'd been chosen by his political party, and was the president of the United States and a very successful president.
So what happened over the next 5 to 10 days with Leader Jeffries and Speaker Pelosi and George Clooney and all the donors, was an overreaction to the debate in your opinion?
I'm not going to label that was an overreaction because some of those people, certainly Leader Jeffries, Speaker Emeritus Pelosi, people like that have a responsibility to their members, and they were reacting to what their members were saying. But it was the real question was, can Joe Biden still win this race? And that was what, as I remember, we set out to demonstrate that he could still do. So.
You said in a Political Playbook podcast, it was published August 9th, but I think you recorded it the day after you left the White House. Do you recall?
I recall recording it, yeah.
During that interview, you said that after the debate was, quote, 24 days of unremitting, negative, horrible attacks on Joe Biden. Then he started moving from his own party and then from the press. So did you believe the press reporting on President Biden's performance in the debate was horrible?
Can we see that one?
It's a podcast. I can.
There's a transcript of that podcast.
Can we go off the record for 1 second?
Mm-hmm.
What was your opinion of the press's coverage, the reporting of President Biden's performance during the debate?
I thought the press was exceedingly rough on Biden, although not surprising, because I think that there were many reporters who covered him who were, well, I don't think you want to go into a huge, my analysis of the Washington press corps, but, and our challenges with them. But I did think that it was one-sided, that there was very little scrutiny given to things that Donald Trump had said, things that he had said in the course of the debate. There was almost no coverage of Trump during this period, up until, of course, July 19th. And that it was very one-sided and exactly, unfortunately, what we had set out to try to change, which was change it from a referendum to a choice, so.
Do you want some tea or anything?
No, I think I'm good. Okay, I'm good. Thank you.
And I won't ask you specifically about the quote, but I think it's important. I'll read it to you just so you have context. You said that after the debate, people started getting that feedback for Biden to drop out. People started getting that feedback within 48 hours. Were you aware that people at the White House were getting feedback in general for the president to drop out?
As I remember, I was aware, yes. We discussed it.
Were you getting outreach directly from people on that topic?
Yes, I was getting outreach from people who were concerned and wanted him to drop out. I was getting outreach from people who wanted to know what our plan was to move forward. So I was getting outreach along a variety of issues.
And limiting this to the 48 hours after the debate, there were people reaching out saying that President Biden should drop out during that time?
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize, I just misspoke then, because I would say in the 48 hours after the debate, I didn't get many of those incoming calls. I think people were still trying to digest what had happened.
And then after the 48 hours, you started receiving some outreach saying that President Biden should drop out?
As well as outreach saying, what is your plan for staying in? How are we gonna go win this thing?
Who, if you can recall, were advocating for the president to drop out?
I can't recall anybody specifically. I know all of us were getting many calls from people across a wide spectrum of issues.
Immediately after the debate, the president, I think, went to 2 post-debate parties.
He did.
Spoke on stage, and then went to like Waffle House or something, and then went to Raleigh, North Carolina. Does that match your recollection?
Yes, as I remember, he went to a post-debate party. He did the Waffle House in Atlanta, I'm pretty, again, my memory may not be 100%, but I'm pretty sure he did the Waffle House. Then he went to Raleigh for a rally.
As someone from the South, you can really only go to Waffle House after midnight, so it makes sense.
Well, I think it was after midnight,
I think
actually.
it was too. And then he had a little while without very many public-facing events, and then the NATO summit. Is that?
Okay, so unfortunately, I can't fill in many of those blanks, but he did have 3 fundraisers the following day after after the debate. And then he went to Camp David. And he came back from Camp David, as best I recall, Monday, and made a public statement from the White House that evening on the Supreme Court's immunity decision.
Do you recall why he went to Camp David that weekend?
To the best of my recollection, I think there was some family event that had been planned.
A photo shoot with Vogue.
Yeah, I just don't remember.
Do you remember any discussions about canceling that trip to Camp David?
I was not part of any discussions on canceling it.
And to be clear, after the debate,